What's up guys, it's Miguel, and in this video I want to go over the method that I use to be able to take as much information as I can out of a book and make it as applicable as possible in my day-to-day life. Now the reason I'm going over this video is because I've had the experience time and time again where I take a couple of months or maybe a couple of weeks. A couple of months is a little too hyperbolic, but I take a couple of weeks to read a book. I read it from cover to cover, and at the end of the book I don't feel like I got any golden nuggets out of it. And it's very frustrating because we tend to think that we don't have a lot of time, and in reality we don't. We only have so much time, right? We have like around maybe 120 years max. And in this video was an attempt to actually make as much use of every single book as possible. So the very first step that I usually take is I take a look at the skeleton. Now taking a look at the skeleton means you're taking a look at the table of contents. You're looking at how the book is structured, because I've seen time and time again, if I just randomly jump in and try to make sense of all the information overall, I don't really get much out of it. But I've seen a lot of, like, every single book that I've seen is structured in a way to actually make sense. It takes you from point A to point B. This is actually news to me, and believe it or not, but I just thought that books were books. I just thought it was information, and it took me around 7 years to actually grasp this and understand that every book has an intention. Like, every book is actually crafted to actually give you some value. Like, it's not just crafted to just give you fluff overall. Well, some of them, they usually have a lot of fluff, but I tend to see that at least a lot of self-help books, they try to take you from point A to point B and actually help you so you can later invest into some other information. But yeah, essentially you're gonna take a look at the table of contents and you're gonna see how it's divided into sections. You're gonna look at the information that's applicable for you right now. You can either jump and start reading everything that you can so you can apply it as soon as possible, or you can just take it chapter by chapter. The next step is read it chapter by chapter. As soon as you start one chapter, finish that chapter. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but I've seen that if I read half a chapter and I try to jump back into the page and I try to read it on, my mind likes to trick myself, and it likes to tell me that, okay, you're gonna remember all the information you read anyway, so you might as well just come back and jump back in. But the truth of the matter is, I usually forget a lot of the context of that chapter, and I don't learn the lesson overall. Like, I just get like half of the context. Like, if you were to watch half of a TikTok, watch a bunch of other TikToks, consume a bunch of other information, and then try to watch the half of the other TikTok the next day around the same time, chances are you might remember a little bit of the context. And maybe a TikTok is a really bad example because it's very short, but maybe a documentary, you're gonna forget a lot of the information that you learned from the first half. So the next piece of advice is, as soon as you start a chapter, make sure you finish it. The next one is start making notes on the side. Now this is very controversial, especially like on Book Talk and stuff, that from what I've seen, because a lot of people, they don't like to write notes inside their books. But the way I see it is that it's a conversation between you and the author. This is another golden nugget that I really found benefited me, and I really want to share with you guys. Think of a book as a conversation between you and the author, and you're constantly just coming up with questions. Don't just passively read it. Make sure that you're engaging with the book. And as soon as you find an answer to your questions, write down the answer in your own words on the sides. What this does is that you start to integrate the information in a way that you wouldn't do it if you were just to passively read it. The next step, and I feel like a lot of this information, there's a lot of steps that I'm taking right now. There's a lot of information that I'm speaking, or maybe not. Maybe you guys already know a lot of this. Maybe you're already applying this, but I'm doing my best here. So the next step is to simply reread it as soon as you're done. And trust me, it's a lot better to reread a book 5 or 6 times than it is to read 5 or 6 different books. And the reason is because I saw that I would miss out on a lot of like golden nuggets the first time around than I did if I kept on rereading and rereading and rereading. And the next and final piece of advice that I would really give you, especially if you have the resources to get this, is to get the audio versions of the books and read along with the author. The reason I see this is because I believe that you absorb around 70% of, like, you actually retain 70% of the information when you listen to it audibly, and you retain 30%. I believe those are the rough numbers. 30% when you read a book visually. So when you actually read it, I'm not saying that it's 100%, but you actually tend to understand, and your focus just becomes a lot sharper when you're reading with the author along, and while you're reading and listening to with the author. So that's the way that I usually go about reading my books, and I found that this has tremendously helped me. And after I finally made my annotations on the book, after I wrote everything that I had to on the book, I usually like to do a little book report and try to write as many notes as I remember, flipping back and forth on the book, reading some of the questions that I had, and just writing it on a separate notebook. So that way I won't have to reread the book 6 to 7 months from now, and I could just simply refer to the book and see if there was a specific problem that I have now, and try to figure out how I solved it back then, or try to figure out the answer that I found out back then and see if it's applicable in the future. So that's my little masterclass, I guess, on how to read books. If this helped you out, leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching this far. I'll see you guys on the next one.